Joining us now to discuss this, somebody who's been in the thick of it, as always, Senator Kevin Cramer from North Dakota. All right, Senator, I outlined a few issues. Were you, the Washington Times had an interview with you, or you were in their story saying that you were looking to put amendments on the floor for the infrastructure bill, and I just wondered what your problems with it are, what kind of amendments, what are you thinking in general?
Sure. So thanks, Larry. Well, a few things. First of all, the main thing I think that we're going to be looking to do, at least that I'm looking for, is to make sure that all of the things I fought for in here remain. Things like codifying the Trump rule on one federal decision that was such a major victory during the Trump era, and something that, by the way, Joe Biden repealed on his first day in office. We've codified for surface transportation in this, maintaining the formulas for rural America, and a lot of things that you've even outlined that are important. In terms of how to fix it, the nice thing now is that when we get it to that point where we're to start doing amendments on the floor, now a whole bunch more people will have a shot at it. They'll be able to bring their ideas, both from the right, both and the left. They'll bring their ideas to the floor. And I suspect there are going to be some things we hadn't thought about that would be good. But mainly, I'm going to protect the permitting reforms that we secured, and of course the formula for making sure that infrastructure is not anti-rural, and we maintain that distribution formula.
So, interesting point. The one federal decision, which was the heart of the Trump NEPA reform, that's not really, it's not in this. Now, there is some progress on permitting reform in this thing, as I read it, highways in particular, but not everything. So needs to be some work on that. Otherwise, you'll never see resolution, will you?
Well, it would be great if we could take that particular permit reform that you just talked about, the NEPA reform, the one federal decision, and apply it to all infrastructure. In this case, it is applied to the surface transportation piece, because that's the piece that we wrote in the Environment and Public Works Committee. The rest of it, though, is subject to what's called the Permitting Council, which has been around since the FAST Act a few years ago, and that actually requires agency coordination. That's, again, the streamlining process. Larry, that's been extended in this bill, so it's not nothing. In a 50-50 Senate, it's probably pretty darn good, and I think we always have to remember, we are only 50 senators, they have 50 senators, and they have the bully pulpit in the White House. Yeah,
no, I got it. I agree with you. It's not nothing, and maybe it can be worked on. What about this environmental justice review that I'm hearing about and reading about? What do you think about that?
Well, just like you, I hate words like justice reviews and the buzzwords for the left. That's, I think, the way they communicate with each other. I don't see that in the bill text itself. It might be something that the White House wants to apply to the regulatory regime. As you know, it's not just the regulations that matter, it's the regulators, those who enforce the regulations, and there's not a lot we can do about them. But at the very least, we've got the reforms in there that we can, that codify, again, certain things that they just can't breach. But how they do some of that, you might notice, and maybe not, but last weekend we had this big brawl over the title that deals with broadband, and there was an attempt by the left to put language in that would provide regulatory authority, far-reaching sort of utility-type regulatory authority, even rate-making authority. Susan Collins went head-to-head until midnight the other night with Jeanne Shaheen, and we were able to get just about all of that out. That was a major victory. In fact, the bill would not have been able to proceed without that victory for Susan. So again, hard-fought fights, and we'll see how it turns out. But I look forward to the amendment process to make it better.
Probably the net neutrality thing for broadband price controls. Exactly good for Senator Collins. She's been great on that. Just a couple others, Senator Cramer. Drug price controls, drug rebates ending. That's all going to go back into the reconciliation package. Is that concerning to you? Should I worry about that stuff? I don't take it seriously.
No, I don't know if it's serious, but I would worry about anything that they can put into reconciliation and get 50 senators and Kamala Harris to vote for. And Nancy Pelosi will almost undoubtedly wrangle all of her Democrats, even the moderates, to vote for. So, but I can't do anything about that. I can't affect that. I'll plan to vote against that. There's where you'll have a vote-a-rama with lots of Republican amendments to try and fix it, to make it less harmful. But when it comes to the hard infrastructure, I hand it to the negotiators, building on what was already done in the committees. They pretty much stuck to hard infrastructure. And by the way, in this inflationary time, Larry, infrastructure, invests in the supply side of the economy, which pushes back on inflation. Really important to have those assets that last for decades that have as their primary purpose the profitability of our economy. So there's a lot to like, a few things not to like. 50-50 Senate. This is this is how you make the sausage.
No, I agree with you, Senator Cramer. I agree with my friend Rob Portman. His editorial in the Journal that was posted this afternoon. There's a lot of pluses here. There's just a lot of worrywart stuff here. Maybe that can be ironed out. Maybe it can't. But I would say at the end of the day, there's a pay for it that's going to says 33% return on investment. Okay, we can't. Senator Cramer, we can't tax our way into prosperity.
No, that's absolutely true.
And the bill behind this bill will attempt to do just that. I'll give you the last word, sir.
There's no question it will attempt to do that. That's why the bipartisan group got together to do something apart from that bill to make sure that infrastructure was not tied to any big tax increases. I actually think, Larry, by taking the low-hanging fruit, that is to say this infrastructure package, which is going to be wildly, I think, popular among the parties, taking that out of the big package, I think makes it more difficult politically for the left to get everything that they want, because moderate Democrats are getting what they want in this bill, and they don't have to swallow the poison pill that Nancy Pelosi is going to try to feed them.
Okay. Senator Kevin Cramer, North Dakota. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Come back soon.
Always a pleasure.